Welcome to Building Assets in Youth, where in just 10 minutes or less, we equip and inspire adults who impact youth. You'll gain simple tools to help youth in your sphere of influence build assets. Assets allowing them to thrive when they can and struggle well when they need to. This series is brought to you by Discover You, providing tools to build courage, confidence, and connection in youth for over 20 years. I'm your host, Beverly Wenzel, and I'm here to have some fun with you as we explore a foundational concept in asset building known as resilience. In our time together, you will discover what resilience is, why it matters, and learn how to multiply resilience by identifying skills that generate success in one instance and applying them to another. This is often referred to as self-efficacy, but a more simple way to say that is, I can because I already have. One thing to understand about resilience is that it's a capacity or an outcome that occurs due to a combination of skills, knowledge, and assets. There is no one path to building resilience. Building Assets in Youth will explore a variety of tools to increase these skills. So think about it. I can because I already have. We all have experiences, some we would consider more successful than others. But in every experience, we learn things, be it what to do or what not to do. It is in reflecting on those experiences that we learn how to transfer our skills to our future experiences. And as we recognize these skills, we increase our confidence. We're able to embrace more situations and take more chances because we understand our past successes. And you can play an important role in assisting others in identifying these skills that they're gaining in different situations. I can because I already have. So self-efficacy is an individual's belief in their ability to achieve goals. I believe I can achieve a goal. That is self-efficacy. It's also the ability to translate from what we learned in one situation to our abilities or what we can accomplish in a similar situation. So for example, a young person mowing lawns over this summer was criticized by the homeowner that they weren't getting under the bushes well enough. So the young person goes back, redid the job, everyone's happy. What they've learned that in the future, that attention to detail matters. Many customers will want them back if they're able to provide that service, and that they can do good customer service and make people happy. Those skills are transferable into their next job. Self-efficacy is a powerful skill in building resilience because it's a skill that helps us to identify our own abilities and really learn to trust ourselves. So let's think about an experience and walk through it. So this tool works for both positive or negative experiences. In this instance, what I'll do is an example with a disappointing experience. And then we'll go through the whole series of questions. So what happened? Young person's response, I got a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. After 3 weeks, I was fired. Well, what are some things that you learned? Well, I learned I do like working in a restaurant. I learned I can get a job. Okay. So what skills have you developed during this experience? I can run a cash register. I'm good at customer service. How do you apply these skills on your next experience? Well, I could apply for a retail or a restaurant job. I know I'd be a good salesperson. I understand a lot of the mechanics of working and what my employers expect. How did you grow as a person? Well, I realize that being on time and following your boss's instructions are probably pretty critical to keeping a job. Okay, what will you do differently next time to create the outcome that you would like? Well, I'll make sure I have good transportation arranged ahead of time, and I'll take my job more seriously. It's a pretty simple process to go through to look at what you learned in one situation that you can transfer to another situation. Another skill that I like that applies nicely here is called the learning loop. It's a very easy process to be able to look at a situation that happened and then consider how you can improve in the next situation that you're faced with. We use the learning loop every time we have an event, I use the learning loop when I'm dealing with employees and talking about both successes and struggles. It's a really easy tool to implement and use. So the learning loop basically has 3 points to it. Something happened. That's where we're starting. And then you ask yourself, what went well? Where did you struggle? And what would you do differently next time? So think about that. So what went well? Well, what went well on this part-time job that I had was the experience that I gained, the friends that I made, what I learned about employers. Where did you struggle? Well, I struggled with being on time. I struggled with thinking my boss was serious when they asked me to do something. And what would you do differently next time? Well, what I would do differently next time is I would take my job more seriously. I would work with my employer and make sure that I'm managing their expectations. There's something interesting about the learning loop that happens, and this is back to good problem-solving skills. We are not solving our young people's problems when we use the learning loop and when we ask good questions. What we're doing is encourage them to solve their own problems. So when you go in and ask what went well, you probably already know, but it's not our job to tell them what went well. What's our job is to help them figure out what went well. We also start with the positive. We don't ask what went wrong. That's the second question. When we start with the positive, what we're able to do is open us up to positive emotions, to this idea that you can broaden and build. And when you are in the positive, you automatically become a better problem solver, a better team player. Okay, so we ask what went well. Easy enough question. Get people in the positive and move forward. Then where did you struggle? Okay, we're not going to forget the struggle part, so we can do that second. The where you struggled becomes your way of helping that young person identify what actually happened instead of you telling them. Okay? Again, you know where they struggled. And you can also ask supportive questions. So if your young person isn't getting to the positive aspect well, or to the negative aspect, you can interject your thoughts. You can even make suggestions to them, okay? But they also don't get defensive when they're telling you what they did wrong, okay? And then what would you do differently next time? Again, you probably already know. But by you taking advantage and letting them tell you what they do differently next time, they're becoming better problem solvers, they're becoming more resilient, and they're gaining confidence because they didn't need to be told. They were able to tell you. That's a big tool when you're working with young people. So the learning loop. What went well? Where did you struggle? And what would you do differently next time? So your Building Asset and Youth Challenge is to practice both self-efficacy first, and do that with a recent experience. What did you learn? What new skills did you develop? How can they help you in the future? How did you grow as a person? And what would you do differently next time? You can condense that down to the learning loop, which is basically the same thing. What went well? Where did you struggle? And what would you do differently next time? Do this with yourself, and then do this with a young person in your life. In your time together, you learn the importance of building resilience, and you gain powerful tools to transfer those skills from one situation to another. See you again as we continue to build assets in youth.